here today, you guys. I'm excited to talk to you about some things. I personally love accounting and auditing. I have a deep respect for it. I'm an artist, but I'm a very technical artist. So I think I like the way you think. And what I'm going to present to you is a type of accounting system, but it's more of a life accounting system. It's more of a emotional accounting system. So I'm going to start with a little story. So yesterday I met up with my kids and they brought all their grandkids and they were telling, kids were playing, and my son says to my daughter, "Oh my gosh, Madeline just says, she's been saying, 'I hate you, Daddy.'" She's 4. And he's just like, okay, thank goodness for ChatGPT, and he was wondering why she would say that. And then my daughter said, "Oh no, Gabriella does that too. She says, 'I hate you, Mommy.'" And then when she has to go over to Dad's, they're separated, he says that she says the same thing. "I hate you, Daddy, you're ugly." And so at least she doesn't get that. But anyway, but he said it was interesting because when he did the research, it's not that the children hate them, it's just that they're expressing a feeling that the obvious feeling. They're expressing how they're a fear, but how they feel. And really what it was saying is that they're expressing that they want to feel love. They want to feel secure. They lash out because they are, and that's the only way they know how to express it, is by, going for the negative. And that's kind of what my system starts with, is the negative. I call this the JuggerKnot System. And the reason why we start with the negatives is because that's the obvious. We can all complain. If someone says, how are you doing, or how was your day? I mean, number one, generally they don't really care and don't want to listen. But, the thing you want to do, it's easiest to complain. "Oh man, this happened, that happened, it was so hard." And, but the thing is it's harder to come up with positives most of the time. And when my kids were going through various things in their lives, they would come up with complaints. And, it's like, that is the best place to start with any kind of problem solving. Now, being auditors and accountants or whatever, so, okay, tell me, you guys, the difference between an auditor and an accountant. Who can tell me, like, in 7 words? Or is it the same thing? Okay, anyway. That's all right. Yeah.
An accountant works with the numbers, reports the numbers. Auditors make sure that those numbers are right.
Oh, yes. See, and that's the fun part. Thank you very much for that, just for the clarification. See, my experience is in accident reconstruction. And so we look for the anomaly. And it sounds like you guys look for the anomaly in the system, right? And so what is easiest to see? I mean, it's great when things are working, when systems work, but what happens when they don't? That's a signal that something is wrong in the system, and then you have to figure out what it is. So anyway, I'm gonna go back to another story. So I started at this job, I got this job, and I mean, I'm looking at the piles of papers on the desk, and stacks and stacks of files and papers and sticky notes and random everything, and every stack is the same stack over again. It's like everything was just stacked probably because of height. And only so high because it would probably fall over. A mess. It was a mess. Under the desk was a mess. There was a box of invoices underneath. Well, have they been sent out? Are they recorded? I mean, this was back when we didn't do a lot of QuickBooks, so they weren't even in the system. And they would delete them. They would delete the invoices after they sent them out. So we found these, and they had never been sent out. I mean, I can't tell you how much money was on those invoices. Okay, anyway, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, wonder what the internal system is gonna look like. Yeah, it was just as bad. So what do? You start with this, it's like, I've got all this to look at and to try to go through. I'm gonna have to compare it with everything in the digital system, and they were just using spreadsheets at the time, so, oh my gosh. So we went through all of that, and and I kind of used a system that I always do. I just kind of try to organize and let's sort, let's put things kind of where they obviously would fit, and then kind of see what we have and then work from there. So anyway, it took months to get through all that and then to compare it with the internal system. And we got it down to about 19 cents. Okay, we're good. You know, I mean, it took a long time. And I did have an assistant helping me. Okay, you handle this and I'll handle that. You tackle this. They had 5 different databases that we had to combine. So that was intense. Anyway, so 19 cents. Oh, I don't know. Let's just do the automatic adjustment. Do a journal entry. And we didn't. I chose not to. I mean, that's the thing. I love numbers. I love accounting because it's like, what if that 19 cents says something? I don't know. I just can't. Oh, that's giving up. I'm not going to give up, right? And so we looked into it and looked into it, and turns out it uncovered an anomaly, something that was in a formula in a spreadsheet deep down, because we would do the formula, you know, and it would update all the spreadsheets. All the invoices and the paychecks for the engineers. So they were getting paid according to this flawed formula, right? So we look into it and we compare it with all the invoices, some of them we had to enter back in, and found out that most of them had been underpaid. One of the engineers had been underpaid by $10,000. Another one was $7,000. Another guy was overpaid $5,000. So, and this was over the course of 20 years. So I'm having to clean up this mess of over 20 years. Oh, you know, maybe they had someone, maybe it could have been maybe 10 years, but you know, their whole, when I came into it, it's like they had been in business for 20 years. And yeah, and they did have tax lien on them. So, but we got them all cleaned up and worked with it. It all got resolved, but it was an anomaly. And so that's the most exciting thing. I mean, it's a bad thing. It's a negative, but it's also a good thing because we were, I don't know, it just feels good when things reconcile, when things make sense, when it's clean and orderly, right? Okay. Anyway, so there we are, anomalies. They're not interruptions or inconveniences, they're invitations to investigate. And so that's where we start. Do you share my enthusiasm for solving anomalies, or are you guys, yeah? Okay, so I have 3 boys, but 2 of them about 10 years ago were skateboarders. That's my anomaly right there. I was a single mom, I don't have a lot of money, but they needed the best skate shoes. Well, and I've come to find out it doesn't matter what the quality is of skate shoes, they wear out. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind they are. 2 weeks, and that's 2 weeks. Well, actually, that's not true, because if you look, this is my forensics background. If you look at this around the sole, you can see that it's been worn quite a bit. But in 2 weeks, it'll start wearing right there. So those are the spots, and it's like, I'm noticing a pattern. That's another thing. Anomalies also reveal patterns, and there's patterns in life. And so it's like, okay, looking at this, I'm going, what can I do to resolve this problem? Set of shoes every couple weeks. How much is that per month? How many? Skate shoes are not cheap. So, so I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? I come from a theater background, and we would make props and sets and everything. So it's like I have to make something. There's no way I cannot make a thing. So I know how to make a thing. Just have to figure out what kind of material I would use, how to put it on. I work with leather things, machines, sewing machines, glue, whatever. But I'm thinking this probably wouldn't work with a glue stick and glitter. But anyway, so I worked with some canvas, nylon. I tried different things. I thought, what if I used what if it could be like something like a tire, something that could go around the shoe, like a tire. And that doesn't wear down, the tire. So I contacted some companies that do tire. I thought, well, then that's going to be too rigid and it's not going to fit around the shoe. Well, what about a rubber? Maybe like a rubber band. What if I could find a rubber band that would be just smaller than the circumference of the shoe, and that maybe that would work? And so that was my first concept. Well, what if it was a rubber band that actually was like a tire? I'll call this tires. That's what I'll do. I'll call this tires and I'll start selling these. And then I get this job, the same one that had the problems, and I thought, and it's accident reconstruction, and I'm seeing all these lawsuits for, at the time there was a kid in baseball, and he got hit by a baseball. And can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So he got hit, and so the mom wanted to sue the mitt company, the baseball company, the baseball bat company. She was suing every part of it, and I'm not doing this. The liability is too much, so screw that. So I let this go, and and then just a year ago, I thought, maybe that's something I could do. I realized that if I put a disclaimer on the package, then they can't sue me. So by buying this product, you assume a responsibility and can't. So, hey, problem solved. What turns out, I brought it back to life because of my daughter, and I'll tell you about her if we have time. I have lots of great stories. Anyway, I said, okay, she was working with Tesla and got laid off with everyone else that was working at Tesla. And so it was like a bad breakup. She loved her job, and she was gonna be starting to work on the robots and the AI with the robots, and she was just so excited. And then they did those layoffs. So anyway, she was just devastated. And she's kind of a scientific type of person. And so I thought, well, do NARGARD. We called it tires at the time, tired. And then she decided to call it NARGARD. And so she brought it back to life. And so we started designing it, and there's all the problems. We went with a product development company, and they had all these problems. And it's like, yes, I know, I've asked all these questions. How is it not gonna flip off? That's why I didn't want to do it, because if it flips off the shoe and doesn't stay on, it could get under the skateboard, they trip, and then we get sued. Someone will find a way to sue us, I'm sure. And so, well, there's that, and there's all the different sizes, and will it stick to the shoe? Will it stick to the grip tape? Which I'm sure all of you know that grip tape on a skateboard is sandpaper. And so it's just gonna burn through everything. Just wear through everything. So what could work? What's the toughest type of material? Canvas is on shoes. It breaks through canvas. It wears through rubber. Anything that's on a shoe, it's gonna just tear through it. So what are we gonna do? There's all these questions, these anomalies, I can't even say it, anomalies that we have to solve. So anomalies, negatives, challenges are all an invitation to investigate and to come up with a solution. And that's the thing, is problems are there. The answer is within the problem. I liked what you said in your, right back here, the coach. The solution is in the problem. It's all part of the same thing. So it's like the answer is always right there. It's right there in front of you. And so, okay, so we thought of all these different possibilities and anything we could think of that would cause us that would improve on the design. And so when my daughter, she was saying, when we develop this or come up with a prototype, it'd be really cool to see how it fails. Because when it fails, then we can find out how to fix it before we go to market. So that was really, really helpful. Anyway, okay, so question. So what do you guys do when what is your go-to? I just need some volunteers to tell me when you have come upon a problem that you can't really solve, what do you do? How do you get through that? Any ideas? Like you have a really complex problem that you can't solve? Yeah, I love that. I know, but then you have to double check him, right? So with, everyone experiences negatives in their lives and challenges. And as professionals, you have your system. Like for me, it was sorting, and I would just kind of see what I have, and with internal systems, with digital or with words, I would just kind of try to organize in sections and then see what I have. And so we all have our little process. The thing is, okay, let me ask you this. How many of you guys have like real life problems outside of work? Well, okay, how about who doesn't? So, do you apply the same your formula to your everyday life? Do you apply the same interest, curiosity to your problems in your personal life? And it's like, why don't we do that? And so that's kind of what these negatives and the challenges and anomalies are. Not bad. They're invitations. They are, again, it's something that we can be curious about. So now back to back to accident reconstruction. So, you know, perfect example, someone gets in a crash or a fire burns something down, or there's a structural failure of something. So there's lots of questions. With an accident, you've got all this debris, you've got 2 or 3 cars, maybe 7, and all this debris mixed in together. We've got you know, the direction of the impact, the angle of the impact. We can see, I mean, how fast were they going? We've got broken headlights. Was the headlights on? Were they burnt out? Was there any damage to the seatbelt or not? So it tells all of these little details tell one part of the story, but together they reveal the solution. They reveal the answer. So by watching for these clues, when even in a crime scene, we watch TV, they're looking for all the clues. Anything that looks like an anomaly, anything that looks out of place. So from these negatives, we come up with the story. And so, we tend to want to clean it all up. We tend to want to not deal with our personal problems or emotional problems. We want to just push them away. We want to avoid it. We don't want to go there. But that, and we just want to have the solution. But that's just like a cleaning crew coming in and cleaning everything up before you can even have a chance to really investigate and see what all of that debris tells, all the stories that it tells, the wear on the tires, which car door was open, the windshield is broken. Why? Because the person flew through it, or who was driving. And so there's what the light timing sequence of the traffic lights. All of these things play a part in the answer. And so in life, we can do that too. So I'm sure, who hasn't had a time when their problems are so complex? Like there's something that's going on, and so is this, and so is this. You've got like 3 major things going on at the same time, and you only have a certain amount of time to do it all, and it almost seems impossible. Or you're going through something intense with a family member, or it just all seems to want to happen at the same time, right? You guys ever experienced that? So those are moments when it's like there's so much debris from this collision. All these, everything, everywhere. And how are you gonna really, take that all in? Well, one piece at a time. So anyway, let's see what this one is. Okay, I was going through a phase in my life when it was just like, it wasn't the whole thing. I'll tell you, how I came to do this. All right, I'll start over, sorry. Where do I start? Which story do I tell? So I had been a single mom. I have 6 kids. So I'm working 3 jobs, not getting any help from the ex-husband. Turns out he's bipolar and he has multiple personalities. And so it wasn't him necessarily, really sweet person, but just couldn't work, and he was an alcoholic. And so while he's, not able to keep a job, and I'm working to support all these kids and working day and night, and then I let him go, and he's living in Oregon, and they're doing great. They, meaning he and my son who has schizophrenia. And so they're up there, and I'm just trying to duke it out with all these kids and working, trying to, and life is happening so fast and so much is going on. It's that chaos, right? And I just can't even keep up with it. Working all these jobs, trying to get 6 kids to elementary, middle school, and high school all at the same time before 8:50 in the morning, so that I don't lose my job. It's just every single day. And after a while, I just kind of couldn't do it anymore. I just thought, it just was enough. And so I thought, I wonder, well, why me? This is so hard, I can't do this. But then I thought, wait. Let's ask another question. How have I done it this long? How have I gotten through it this far? And I'm still here, and we've still gotten through it. And I thought, it's because of organizing, cleaning, keeping a list, writing things down. And it was in writing things down that's what saved me. I mean, the minute you write things down, you start feeling like you can see what it is. It's an accounting system of everything. And I thought, but it can't be complicated. You know, this has got to be something I can use in a crisis. It's like, you know, here, let's see. Oh yes, okay, just gotta make sure I stay on task. But it's gotta be something easy, something quick. It's, you know, I believe in positive thinking, I believe in positive affirmations and all that, but it's like, but that's not gonna pay the bills. You know, I can't do a retreat or do breathing. Breathing's good, but it's not gonna pay the rent. So I need something I can use. So that's when I was actually at the accident reconstruction firm. And this was my turning point. I just thought, okay, I'm looking at this wrong. I need to reverse engineer my problems. How do I want it to be? You know what? Let's just, you know, that's the gratitude and the positive affirmations. I like that, but this is where I'm at, and this is hard. How am I gonna break out of this? And I was working on the database, the same one that that I was talking about that we had to fix. There were 5 of them, and we combined them to one. Thank you very much. And I was literally not even thinking about this little system. And in my mind, this pops up. I have all these, and actually there were some data points. There's like all these data points on the left side, data points. And it's like each one of them I'm thinking, oh, okay, I get it. These are all negatives. All these, the debris, the details, the things that just, the chaos, these problems. And then one by one, each one moved over to the other side of the screen. And it's like, oh, I get it. And so in accident, and I just use a little cute little formula because, you know, that's what the engineers do. So negatives equal positive is the answer. So negatives equals positive in reverse. And the K1 is action, is kinesthetics. So it's like, and then adding action. So negatives are the positives in reverse. Negatives are positives in reverse. And it's like, it's the same, it tells a story. And so I thought, ooh, maybe I could start testing this on my kids. And so, and I had told them, you know, success is a checklist. Literally, you can do anything you want. And you know, I was always motivating my kids and just, you go do it. You can do it, you can do it. And I'm not doing it, I'm gonna make them do it and just see if it works. They're my little guinea pigs. And so what do you wanna do? My son wanted to be a movie maker. And so I said, okay, let's create a list. I've been in theater, so we could do it. I just make a list of all the things we need, and then we list of things to do, and we just do it, right? So action is the third step. You have negatives that you switch over to their respective positive, and then what's one step to take? And I thought, would this work with every situation? And so I started testing it out. And so, like I said, right there. So the negatives are the positives expressed in reverse. So I started testing it out, and it worked. I thought, okay, maybe it doesn't work on complex problems. Maybe it doesn't work on, but it has, in order to be a successful formula, it has to work on every scenario. I tested it on my son with schizophrenia, and it worked. He's been to the hospital like 4 times. The mental hospital, and you know, it's just terrifying. He doesn't want to go. We moved him up to Oregon so that he could feel more comfortable there. And he actually started using it on the other patients, and their eyes were like saucers. They couldn't believe it. And then my sister has rheumatoid arthritis, and she came to me and said, can we do a session? And her negative was, they want to take off my foot. And so I, you know, what do you do? Apply my formula to that? How's that gonna work? And I just thought, you just gotta, it's so simple, but it works. And I thought, okay, I'll just trust that it works. And she took away peace, knowing what to do. She ended up not taking her foot off. You know, she ended up just being able to try to find a different solution. And so what I found with this formula is it doesn't solve the big problem. It does eventually, but it's in series. Like you do this formula on the issue or the many issues that you're going through, everything you're going through in the moment, and then what it does is opens your mind, and you can see the problem from outside of your perspective. And there's always an answer. There's always there's always an escape hatch. There's always a back door. So it helps you see that. And people always, every time we get to the positive, they will, just like, didn't even see it. and then they'll be breathing, and they don't realize that they're like suddenly, oh, so I don't need to sell the house. They had never thought about it. Maybe not selling the house and just using it as an Airbnb. I mean, she had this, I didn't tell you who she was, but in my mind I'm thinking. But a friend of mine didn't want to sell her house. She didn't want to sell her grandparents' house. Anyway, so there's that. Now, it's like a knot. And I was going to do a little demonstration for you, but I think that, I don't know, I'm talking so much, we're going to run out of time. So life is like a knot. So have you ever untangled, I know the ladies here have untangled like jewelry, necklaces, those little tiny chains. How do you do that? Oh, and well, I'll show you. I did it. Like, this is a problem, right? How do we start solving this? You know, you can't, how do you solve this? There's no way of solving it until you look for an end. And little by little, you start pulling it out, and eventually it's solved. I mean, quicker than you would imagine. Most of the time, you get a solution before you could even, it's surprising. So, there's that. And then, okay, so again, the 3 steps. Now I've given you guys, in case I don't get to cover everything I would like to tell you, I've given you some notes behind the decoder. So the deluxe decoder form there has prompts on it to help you go through it. And who votes so we go through it really quick with you, or do you want to just me to tell you about it and you take it home and do it? Go through it? Okay, and I'll take you through it. Okay, let's try this then. So, okay, blanket form, and now if you look at it, we're gonna do the left column, the negatives. So right now, think of 3 negatives, or you can, and actually the idea is to write down all your negatives. So you could just write down, let's try 5, just the 5 top pain points in your life. Concerns, worries, fears. I mean, I would even start with, and we have some in the back too. Hey, B, do you want to come and bring one for him here? Oh, you got one? Okay. So, and raise your hand if you need one, and B over there will get you some. Yeah, we need one over here. Keep your hands up while she brings it to you. And then, okay, so be writing your negatives. Even if it's something like, I don't feel good, or, oh, I feel really uncomfortable, or it could be something financial, emotional, it could be anything. I have a book that I wrote, and it does have a section in there that's called the Rapid Radar Detector, and it lists all the negatives. It's like a lot of suggestions on negatives in every facet of your life, in every situation of your life, just to prompt you on what you're feeling. So this is accounting, isn't this fun? So, and what I want you to do is when you're done, just kind of put your finger up. You don't have to hold your hand up because you might be waiting for just a minute, so. And if you have any questions too. And, okay, while you're writing, if something else comes up, add that to your list. Now, these don't have to be in order. That's the best part of this. All the debris doesn't have to be in order. You don't have to sort any of this. This is what's great. Nice for me, I like to sort, but it's like you can just literally write as you think. No need to sort the data. I was thinking of having some mood music while you do this, but that would be a little creepy. I don't know. I know, right? Like the sleeping music. That would have been cool. And again, I always would ask my kids when my kids were having a problem, and sometimes they'd be like, I don't know what's wrong. It's just too much, I don't know. And so just start with one thing. Like just even, like I said, something that you feel. Or it could be a problem at work, it could be at home. So I'd say to them, okay, how do you feel here? How do you feel at school? How do you feel, about the world? How do you feel, and then something always comes up. Okay, you guys about ready for the next sentence? Okay, so what I always do, and this, I hope this isn't a little too weird, but psychologically, it helps. You look at each one of those negatives, and in your mind, just, okay, it does help to do it out loud, because your brain hears your mouth say the word. So you're actually, it's better to say it out loud to but for, you just can whisper it to yourself right now, but read it out saying, it's okay that, blah, blah, blah. And you'll see that in that left column, that's a prompt. It's okay that I feel, blah, blah, that I have to go do something in 2 days, or have to go meet with someone I don't, or have to go trim the yard. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's okay that I feel this about the negative. So, does that make sense? Okay, once you've gotten that, now you're going to, so you said it's okay. Now we go to the next column over, and for each one of those negatives, you're going to write what the exact opposite of that thing is. Now it's important to not generalize. You need to look at that negative. Don't even worry about all the other negatives you have. They could be totally unrelated. We don't have to sort again. So look at that positive and think about what the negative, how you would want that to be. What I like to say to some people, like this one girl, she said, well, my boyfriend, I would want to be with him again, but no one will let me do that because he's in prison for trying to kill me. So it's like, okay, but I said, you know what, it's just a game. It's just a game. Write down whatever you think that you want to write down. Whatever positive it is, how would you want it to be? It has to be as positive as your negative is negative. So write that down. So for each one of those things, how would you want that thing to be? In a perfect world, if a genie granted you a wish, what would it be? So, and it's just a game. And my game is called It's Just a Game too. And it takes you through this. It actually does this in a group setting where all the people playing in the game work on one person, and it's so much fun. I have coins and I have cool prompts and everything, and it just makes it fun. So for each one of those negatives, you're gonna write down how you would want it to be. If a fairy godmother granted you a wish, what would it be? If you were in another quantum dimension, how would you imagine that to be? And it's just a game. You're not committing to anything. It's funny, sometimes when I do it on people, they'll say, oh, but I can't have that. No one had ever let me be with my boyfriend that tried to kill me. And it's like, no, just write it down. And I'll tell you a little story while everyone's writing their positives, that we did this on her, and she said, what, I can have that? And I said, yes, you can have that. It's, whatever. And she just, it's interesting, she just needed permission to say that, to see it. Because 2 days later, she said, you know what? I'm kind of rethinking that. I'm thinking that maybe I could just, maybe start dating other guys. So, and then she called me about a week later and said, you know what? I could actually meet the love of my life that treats me well. So, it opens your mind, but you have to be able to address it, and you have to be able to, be okay with whatever you want that to be, because it changes. Okay, is everyone ready? So then the little prompt next to that is gonna say, I'm grateful that. So suddenly I'm telling her by saying, I'm grateful that I get to be with my boyfriend. Oh, you know what her positive was? It was, I'm grateful that I feel safe with my boyfriend. And that's another thing. The game also prompts people on how to be facilitators. Like when you're listening to someone and they're telling you what they want, you're like, no, don't do that. Oh my gosh. Well, no, if you let them have it, then they get to think through it themselves. My kids all wanted tattoos when they were 12 and 13. I said, okay, well, let's go and check out some tattoo shops and see what you think. And they didn't get tattoos until they were in their 20s. So it worked for a while. Anyway, but the thing is letting them have that, they made the decision not to do that. And it, again, opens your mind to other possibilities. We're not stuck. Instead of being tangled like the rope, you can free that strand up, and you can open your mind to other possibilities you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So it's fascinating, and you're saving yourself so much time. I mean, so much time and resources by just getting to the point and realizing what it is you want. Okay, so here's that. So step one is the writing down, and then you flip it to the positive, the exact opposite of, which is the negative in reverse. So the positive and the negative are the same thing, but one is negative, one is positive. And then you take action. And so what's one step that you can take towards that thing? So, when I'm working with people, it's like, oh yeah, we're doing this. So what's one small step? One strand of the rope? What's one thing you can do towards that thing? And you guys all understand compound interest, right? That, just doing something a little bit at a time and how that increases. It's it's remarkable what you can, when you look back and see how quickly everything adds up. So just by one little movement, and then if you were to do this same thing every day, if you were to, I have mine with me, and I keep it with me. It's like, this is a great set of affirmations. What you're gonna do is, after you write one step that you can take towards what it is you want, you tear off the negative. We don't want that anymore. But first, read through it, compare your negatives to your positives, and think. I want you guys to think, which one is more true? So take a minute and read your positives and compare them to your negatives. Our little bit of reconciliation here. Which one of those is more true? And it's okay that you want it more, but it's actually doable, because if you take one step towards that thing every day, you're gonna end up there or somewhere just as good. And the funny thing is, a lot of times people, when we realize what it is we want and we start taking action, other things open up that are even better. And so it's not, the idea isn't to get that goal, it's to move in that direction. And then you're able to, actually move. We're trying to untangle the knot. That's what we're doing. And every day is untangling the knot and then getting to that point where you can see the solution clearly. You can see what the issues are. You can see the piles and they all make sense and they all add up. And it's actually doable. You can find that you can work through that. Okay. So that's our JuggerKnot system, but a decoder. Okay, so with the NAR guard, what's one thing we can do? Well, so my daughter started looking into it and started with the NAR, we call it NAR guard. She decided to call it NAR guard with a shoe. She found that TPU is the best material, and she has learned how to 3D print a rubber type of TPU material. And it was based on the wear and tear of the shoes that she was able to know where to put the thicker materials. And so we've got and the little lines in the sides is where the strap will go around to fasten the shoe, the piece to the shoe. So it's a removable shoe guard, essentially, so the kids can put it on and take it off. So all that from anomalies and from the negatives, coming up with something that actually ended up being better than what I thought. I knew how I wanted it to be, but it ended up being even cooler, and it works. Now, a quick little result. We've been testing this for about 9 months, and our original guard is still, the kid is still using it. It's 9 months. He's actually using it to keep his shoes together. Yeah. He's a skateboarder and can't afford all those expensive shoes, and the guard is actually keeping his shoes together. So that's what you get from the negatives, come up with something positive. Okay. Reflection. So this is our little wrap up. So basically, again, get rid of the negatives, take that positive. You don't need to use my form. I can give you more. I have a bunch, but you can make copies. You can make your own. With my kids, I just fold it up into thirds, and the prompts are there. And if you do this every day, or just as when you need to, on any problem, I promise you. And the kids will, I'll say, hey, let's do the JuggerKnot on it. And they're like, no. And so I'll write it down. I make notes. I'm their little accountant, secretary, and so I write it down for them and take them through it, and they love it. And they love that I listen to them. I don't tell them what to think. I don't tell them what they should do. I don't tell them what they should want, and they feel heard. Oh my gosh, Mom, you're actually listening to me. And so it's not only is it solving problems for them, they're feeling connected to me. It caused my daughter to be able to, she used to run to her room and slam the door. You don't care, you don't understand. It's like, well, I don't understand. As parents, as friends, we don't understand. We don't know what they're going through. You're right, I don't understand. But help me understand. And so imagine what would happen if we would just take notes when friends would talk to us, parents, friends, we don't have to have the answers. You guys, this is your prompt to be able to help your friends and family. When you don't know what advice to give them, they have the advice inside of them already. They don't need us to tell them what they should do. That's totally irrelevant. We hold the secret. We hold the answer to our own problems. We have our purpose inside of us. It's been coded in us, and that's why we know what we want. And when we have negatives, it's because it's those positives manifesting in reverse. So, if we want to know our full potential and purpose in life, it's the opposite of our fears and our negatives. That's what it is. So next time you have all these negatives, you're like, this is my cheat sheet to my purpose. And so you can, like, literally on a day-to-day basis, hour to hour, month to month, year to year, you can resolve those things. You can solve the problems and get direction because you have the answers in you. When you're helping someone else, they have the answers in them. Our job as friends and family is to help them see that. Give them permission to express that. Give them a way to see that. Because a lot of times we can't even see the forest through the trees. And so being able to write it down is, I mean, literally, my kids are like, oh, don't write it down. And it's like, no, it's the whole process of writing it down, accounting for it. How'd you guys like to just in your minds try to figure out this complex number system? No, how about we write it down, then we can see it, then we can analyze it. Same thing goes with life. Let's apply what we know as professionals and apply it to our daily lives. Every problem that we face is solvable. There is a solution. There is a way through and a way out. So, any other questions? Like there were questions before. Other implying that you had questions. I was reading your mind. So does anyone, are you guys going to try this? How many people are going to try this? Simple process. Thank you very much. Yes, simple process, try it, and then my information is on the brochure, so if you have any questions, let me know. And thank you for having me.